All right, let's get right into this one. We're about to break down a social media story that, I kid you not, starts out like a perfect romance, but ends in a full-blown, high-speed escape for your life. This thing is a powerful cautionary tale. Really, it's a masterclass in red flags that you just can't afford to ignore.
Are you scared of dying? Just let that sink in for a second. Imagine hearing that. Not in some horror movie, but from your new girlfriend's young son. He's looking you right in the eye while you're just sitting on the couch with his mom. This is the absolutely chilling climax of the story we're unpacking today.
So how in the world does a relationship get to that point? Well, that's what this is all about. We're going to hit rewind, we're going to piece together every single event, every warning, and all the terrifying moments that led right up to that one single life-changing question.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. We've got our main characters, Paul and Chrissy. They're on a date night, everything seems perfect, but their whole evening is about to get completely shattered by a single phone call. A call that turns a romantic night into pure, absolute dread.
And you've got to remember the time frame here. They'd only been dating for 2 months. That's it. That's the honeymoon phase where everything's new, everything's exciting. But it's also a major blind spot. Paul is just starting to get to know this woman, which means he has zero context for the absolute chaos that's about to be unleashed.
So try to picture the scene, right? It's a nice, quiet, intimate evening, and then a phone starts to ring. And it doesn't stop ringing. That relentless sound, that is the sound of their perfect night just shattering into a million pieces. It's the start of a total nightmare. And just look how fast everything goes off the rails. It starts with the phone calls, annoying, but whatever. But then Paul answers it, and bam, it escalates. Jeremy's warning isn't angry, it's cold, which is so much worse. Chrissy's reaction gives zero answers, just more fear. And then it all ends with Paul finding something truly horrifying just sitting on the coffee table. This is not a slow burn, my friends. This is a full-on explosion.
This is the exact moment the whole story changes. After the first argument, Jeremy calls back and says this. The source says his tone wasn't yelling. It was this cold, aggressive kind of calm. It's not even a direct threat, which is what makes it so terrifying. It's this horrible puzzle that he just dropped in Paul's lap.
So of course, Paul hangs up, he turns to Chrissy, and he asks the question, what happened to the last guy? And her response? She just dissolves into tears. No explanation. No, oh, my ex is just crazy, nothing. She just looks at him and says this, I'm so sorry. An apology with zero context might be the single scariest thing she could have possibly said. Sorry for what exactly?
Now, after a night like that, which, by the way, ended with Paul seeing an obituary on her coffee table and literally running out of the house, you'd think, okay, story's over. But nope. Here's the twist. He actually went back. And this next part of the story is all about the dangerous, tempting idea of a false sense of security.
You see this in stories all the time. It's called the lull. It's that period of quiet right after the big storm, the part that makes you drop your guard and think everything's okay. It's a classic storytelling technique, really, because it makes the real climax, when it finally hits, feel so much more shocking. And that is exactly what happened to Paul.
So you're probably asking, why on earth did he go back? Well, Chrissy called him, she was apologizing profusely, and she gave him what sounded like the perfect reason to feel safe again. She told him that her lunatic ex, Jeremy, had just been arrested for the murder of the guy she dated right before Paul. To Paul, this must have been a huge relief. The threat was gone, the monster was in a cage. Or so he thought.
And this brings us right back to where we started. Paul is back at the house. Everything seems to have gone back to normal. They're on the couch together. But this is the point of no return. The lull is officially over, and the final, undeniable warning is about to come from the last person you'd ever expect.
Chrissy gets up and leaves the room for a second, and that's when her son turns to Paul. Right after asking him if he's scared of dying, he drops this absolute bombshell. The charges didn't stick, and my daddy is on his way over here. In that one single sentence, Paul's entire world, his entire illusion of safety just completely shatters. And that's the key difference, right? Jeremy's warning over the phone was a creepy puzzle. It was a question mark. But his son's warning, that was a giant exclamation point. It wasn't a puzzle he needed to solve. It was a direct confirmation of an immediate, incoming threat. Jeremy was out, and he was coming to the house right now. There was no more guessing. It was time to go.
So at this point, Paul's fight-or-flight system just kicks into overdrive, and he is 100% choosing flight. What happens next is just this frantic, panicked escape. It's like a raw, real-time blueprint for how to survive when you realize you are in legitimate, mortal danger.
I mean, look at this. It's a primal survival plan. It's brutally simple. Grab your wallet and keys. If you drop your phone, leave it. Your phone is not worth your life. Run to the car and then drive like everything you care about is on the line. The source material says he peeled out of there so fast he almost gave himself whiplash. That is pure, uncut adrenaline.
And the aftermath was just as decisive. Paul got the heck out of there and did not look back. He blocked her number, blocked her on every social media app, and eventually he even took a job in another state. He completely relocated his entire life for a fresh start, just to put as much physical distance as possible between himself and that night.
So, okay, beyond the absolute terror of this story, what can we actually take away from it? Well, this whole ordeal serves as a really powerful set of lessons, right? About dating, about danger, and about how important it is to see the warning signs before it's way too late. As Paul himself puts it, sometimes you have to be your own lifeguard.
And these are Paul's own words. From his final update on the story, it's just a perfect metaphor, isn't it? When you're out there in the dating world, you can't always expect someone else to jump in and save you. You have to be your own lifeguard, always aware of the currents and ready to get yourself to shore.
So let's just nail down the lessons here, the big red flags from this story. An ex who is way too involved or threatening, extreme emotional outbursts that have no explanation, a creepy, vague apology, finding something deeply disturbing like an obituary, a direct confirmation of danger, especially from a child. But maybe the biggest one of all is just listening to that little voice in your head, your gut instinct, when it is screaming at you to run.
And that just leaves us with one last kind of sobering question to think about. I mean, this story is an extreme case, for sure, but it was built on a foundation of smaller signs that were missed along the way. So it's worth asking yourself, what's the biggest red flag you've ever ignored?